bring all this stuff up is basically just to cheer us up in a way to begin the year to see some trouble. But also I should point out that Google has had a bit of an issue recently with I think they had a bad update or something which could delete lots of things, but I cannot remember what exactly it was. But there was lots of headlines between Christmas and the New Year warning people not to update their certain type of phone, that it would just basically break something. And this happens too. So to be fair, I think the only lesson we can take from that is that things break, but Microsoft stuff tends to break, I think, more frequently than some of the other companies which produce with Linux and use reusable components more so than Microsoft does.
So I was just going to say to sort of balance up in the interests of fairness. I mean, my console of choice for my whole family would be the PlayStation 3, and that hasn't avoided its version of the Red Rings of Death either. I think it was the Yellow Light of Death is what the PlayStation 3 has. But I mean, I think by nature, the console itself, it's a closed system. It sits under your TV. It's in very different conditions to your desktop machine. So whilst Microsoft may have brought some of its problems with its Red Rings of Death on itself by cheaper parts or for whatever reason, I don't know, it isn't. It's not a generic thing, not simply a Microsoft problem. It's affected quite a few. I can't comment on the Wii. I don't know if the Wii had any similar issues, but certainly somebody could enlighten us via email in regards to that. Sorry, Roy. I
just want to point something out. The Xbox 360 has had all sorts of analyses done on it throughout 2007, 8, whatever, including some experts who were looking at the heatsink and all kinds of components which were supposed to assure that they had done all the necessary testing. But it turned out, this is something that lots of people would consistently say, that Microsoft was, as usual, producing and making things too fast and releasing before it was ready, because they were eager to make it available on, I think, by Christmas 2005 or 6, probably 2006. But it's 5 years old now, isn't it?
Yeah, it came a clear year before the PS3, I believe.
Yeah, so it must have been 2005. So they were basically pushing this thing out, like most things to do with software, before it's ready. And this is something that they do within the company. They don't really aim for equality, but they aim to push things out and hype things up and try to put pressure on the competition. If you look at memos from antitrust exhibits, you see the company even it actually admits doing that. It actually admits things aren't ready, but we'll push it anyway. If you look at more recent documents to do with Vista, you can see the executives themselves knowing it's not ready, but they push it out anyway. And this basically does show you it is a bit of an endemic problem, and you can actually attribute this to Microsoft especially, because they don't actually aim for a very polished, a very high quality product all the time. The same can be said about Google, but Google has a method of calling everything beta. So things don't work, and they basically say, well, it's not ready yet. It's just for you to test early. And because they work as a service, of course, they can update on the go, which is something that Microsoft cannot do, especially with hardware, where it's extremely hard to modify things once it's out and it's broken.
I think though, Roy, sorry, Gordon, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I was going to say there's 2 or 3 points just while they're on my mind. First thing is, I wouldn't be surprised if Microsoft patented or trademarked the word "of death," because that's where it all seems to come from. Blue screen of death, and then everything else when it goes wrong, it's something of death.
They have Death Spiral. They use the phrase a lot to describe what they do to the competition. They have to tilt them into a death spiral and stuff like that.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Microsoft trademarked "of death." And the original source material is blue screen, so that's sort of a joke, obviously, right? The next thing is with the next. I mean, as far as the lock-in is concerned with these consoles and the games, the social aspect and this generation of consoles cannot be underestimated in this, because if you're a member of the PlayStation Network, whatever it is, for the PS3 are the same with the Xbox Live, that they're online gaming, then you've got a whole community of people who you play games with. You play football games, you play racing games, you play shoot 'em ups. You play all these games with other people. So the longer that your console is out of action, and you're tempted to say, right, will I switch over from a PlayStation to an Xbox or vice versa, then you've got a whole group of people that you've met that are all on one network. So the pressure is there not only to buy that new version, a new version of that same console, but to get that account back up and running and then get back online so that you can get back to playing again. That was never the case with the ones that weren't sort of connected generally by default. Yeah.
I mean, well, what I'd say, sort of in response to that, I mean, I believe now, and I could be wrong, but my Xbox has given the facility for cross-platform chat now. And I believe cross-platform gaming in respect of online gaming. Now, somebody have to correct me if I'm wrong there, because unlike the PlayStation Network, which is free to play your games that you bought online, you have to pay for a subscription to Microsoft before you can get anywhere near it. So I haven't actually confirmed this, but I'm led to believe that now Microsoft, and this probably is one of the good moves that they have done, has enabled a community to build up across the platform, so PC users can speak to Xbox users. Like I said, I could be wrong. The only other point I wanted to bring up was the release date of the 360 and what Roy was saying about Microsoft rushing out technology. And I mean, I think the position we're sitting now is quite great because it's hindsight and we can look back. But I think in hindsight, the decision made by Microsoft to release the hardware when they did, rightly or wrongly, whether it was in a fit state to be released, whether it had issues that weren't dealt with before release, was a correct decision to make. You just have to look at the figures for sales of the Xbox 360 and for the take up in the home of the 360 to say that it was a gamble that paid off. And whilst Microsoft may have lost,
very careful about the numbers. I mean, one thing because I was viewing quite a few headlines, at least I wasn't descending too low into reading the entire articles except one. I found out that if a person was to look at the Christmas sales for the past holiday, or in general what Microsoft tends to be claiming and pushing into the American press, because of course Microsoft is the American company and everything else is Japanese, is they always show you the American sales, and lots of articles will not even use the word US or America or nothing. And they give you the impression that Microsoft is completely winning this race. If you look at Japan, it's just like the sixth best-selling console, and it's down to 8th now. It's absolutely horrible. But
I would always only make comment on my area, I don't want to say the word culture, but I would only make a comment on the UK because obviously my peers and the people I associate with are quite a diverse bunch. But I think collectively,
bothers me because I care about statistics and I see it being misused and repeated a lot. Because you probably see it on the press here. You always see Xbox is doing well and Xbox is doing reasonably well. And lots of people will just repeat this because they hear it so many times. And that's just advertising. I mean, the Kinect was advertised with $500 million. $500 million just on marketing this little piece of peripheral. You know, it's not even it's a peripheral for something else. And it deceives a lot of people. Xbox is not selling well.
I certainly judge my opinion. We've got to make a judgment call about the popularity of a console on the basis of something. Now we can be skeptical about every single statistic that's released on the net, but I think you have to draw the line some way and start saying, well, these are my peers, these are the people I'm at work with, and this is what they own. So I would presume it's relatively representative of the UK. We're not a weird bunch. We're quite diverse in our backgrounds. So, I mean, my ranking of the consoles on the basis of my work colleagues, and this is probably about 50 or 60 people in total that I know very, very well, I would probably say that 70% of those people own an Xbox and a Wii, and about 30% own either a PS3 and a Wii or a PS3 and an Xbox, for a multitude of reasons. And I don't think, like I say, that's misrepresentative of the rest of the UK, because when I speak to people online, I get the same sort of statistics. Now, having said that,
it's always been one of the strongest. I think it's even stronger than the United States, possibly, or also in all sorts of categories. And it's really, I'm not saying it's to you. I'm saying it in general for people to read the English press. They have to be very careful. Whether it's even Australia. Australia is also an extremely strong market for Microsoft on a relative scale. And